I found out that my wife's junior is about to pass away, and his only wish is to marry her, Gamina. The moment she agreed, I informed the system, requesting to be disconnected from this world. Gamina Sue had already asked for a divorce twice, but each time I failed to reach the civil affairs office. It wasn't until I was lying on the operating table as a terminally ill patient that I truly understood. She, the lead surgeon, was horrified and desperate. How could it be me? What broke her even more was the fact that I was going to die under her hands, according to the system's design, leaving her with eternal guilt. Chapter 1. Gamina is a renowned surgeon, known as the Golden Hand, in the hospital. Her schedule is so packed that she only notified me about the divorce via WeChat. "Find some time and get the divorce done," she wrote. Sebastian, emotionally unstable, couldn't wait. I glanced at the cold, untouched dishes on the table, the cream cake starting to melt, much like our relationship, which had crumbled over the past 10 years. From our school days to wedding clothes, I had made several calls, but it wasn't until the fourth one that she finally answered. Her voice was cold and indifferent. "What's the matter? I was busy just now." I instinctively thought to apologize, assuming she was in surgery. Doctors always have to be responsible for their patients, after all. But then I heard a man's soft laugh in the background. "The clothes are off. Come quickly." Blood rushed to my head in an instant. "Gamina, we're not divorced yet, are we?" I asked. Calmly, she explained, "You misunderstood. It was for giving Liam's dog a bath." I closed my eyes, my nails digging into my flesh. "Gamina, if we divorce, I'll disappear. This is how the system is set up. No one can change that." She didn't respond, and I heard movement on her side. She had probably gone somewhere else to take the call. Then she lowered her voice. "Julian Wong, I've explained so many times. It's just a ceremony. After fulfilling his wish, we'll remarry. Why do you always threaten me with disappearing?" When she used my full name, I knew she was angry. Seeing that I didn't respond, Gamina's breathing grew heavier. She had once said that nothing annoyed her more than my silence and lack of response. "Julian Wong, be rational," I sneered. "You're at Sebastian's house late at night, talking to me about rationality. Don't you find that funny?" After all, legally, she was still my wife. There was a long sigh on the other end, then, coldly, one word at a time, she stabbed my heart. "Julian, Friday morning, let's finalize the divorce." Chapter 2. I scooped a bite of cream into my mouth, the bitterness spreading across my tongue. It was almost ironic. She remembered to bathe Sebastian's dog but had forgotten that today was my birthday. Maybe her heart had already left and her memories had followed. "System, can you sing me a birthday song?" I asked. "I can't. I can only sing a funeral dirge," it replied. I chuckled. "Then forget it, save it for when I die. Disconnect me from this world." If I left here, I could return to the original world. In that world, although I wouldn't have a healthy body, I would have a family who loved me and friends I could count on. I missed the rice noodle rolls downstairs, the beef soup at the old market, and of course my dad's warm clay pot porridge. Here, I'm the one who cooks for Gamina because, as a doctor, her hands are too important for her patients and for herself. But when I saw Liam's post on social media, I broke her well-proportioned hands. The hands I had protected so carefully were peeling shrimp for him with such patience. The caption read, "The Golden Hand only peels shrimp for me." All my efforts felt like a cruel joke. "Host, aren't you going to try harder?" the system asked. "No," I replied. My heart died the moment she decided on divorce. The task of conquest was doomed to fail. It's just a matter of dying sooner or later, so why not free myself soon? The sooner, the better. The system sighed softly. "Autonomous disconnection will be somewhat painful. The good news is, you can choose your method of death." I thought about it seriously and smiled faintly. Gamina never believed I would disappear. Then let me die by her miracle hands. I imagine her expression at that moment would be quite something. Chapter 3. I couldn't make it to the civil affairs office on Friday to finalize the divorce. After the disconnection procedure began, my body quickly began to show signs of decline. With an extremely low immune system, I developed a fever. My lips were so dry they cracked. Instinctively, I called out, "Sammy, water!" In the past, whenever she was home, I could always drink water at the perfect temperature. I'd grown accustomed to her small gestures of care. But when I opened my eyes, I remembered she had already moved out, the day she agreed to marry Sebastian. "He's my teacher's son. For the sake of my teacher, I have to take care of him. He's almost dead. It's just a wedding ceremony. Be generous," she had said. That day I stared at her in disbelief. If it's just a ceremony, why do we need to get a divorce certificate? She lowered her eyes, her fair face covered in a layer of frost. "We can't let him be the third party, can we?" "Yes, we hadn't legally divorced. Wouldn't that make him the third party?" Turns out, she wanted to go through with the whole act. I looked at her, indifferent. "If we divorce, I will never remarry you," I said. She froze for a moment, then dropped her suitcase, grabbing my arm tightly. "What did you say?" she asked. "If you're not with me, who will you be with? You've always said that you're an orphan in this world and that, besides me, you have no other family." Maybe she grabbed me too hard, or maybe she pierced my heart with her words. I gently pushed her away. "Let go. You're the one who didn't want me first." But she didn't care. She threw herself into my arms. Thinking of the 10 years we had spent together, I couldn't stop the tears from welling up. "David, don't feel bad. If you're sad, I'll feel even worse." "How could I not want you?" she said awkwardly, kissing me from my lips down to my Adam's apple. She told me she was an orphan, and that her teacher had taken care of her a lot since she was young. She said Sebastian was just like a younger brother to her. I believed her. After all, he had a rare, terminal illness and was almost dying. At least, that's what I thought. The system informed me that if I restored our marriage within 3 months, the task wouldn't be considered a failure. A week later, I went to the hospital to bring her some nutritious soup. As I passed through the open-air parking lot, I saw Sebastian sitting in the driver's seat. The windows wide open, Gemina was standing outside, her hands tucked in her white coat pockets, looking graceful. The next moment, she bent down and kissed her so-called younger brother. It felt like a bucket of cold water was thrown over me. I stood there, numb, watching her gently rub his head with her fair, slender fingers. "Be good, go home and rest," she said. He seemed to mumble something before putting on sunglasses and driving away. All of it was so familiar, she used to do the same with me. She wanted to fulfill his wish of getting married, and in that moment I had a terrifying thought. Was it just sympathy and responsibility? Maybe her heart had already drifted away while still honoring our vows. She rationalized being with another man without truly breaking her promises. No wonder she was so eager to divorce and marry him. That day, I threw the nutritious soup into the trash, along with the heart that once loved her without reservation. Chapter 4. In the haze of my fever, the phone rang again and again. I struggled to find it and finally answered. Gemina's somewhat annoyed voice came through. "Can you be more punctual? I've been waiting for you for half an hour." I weakly replied, "I have a fever. Can we reschedule?" My whole body felt so weak I couldn't even crawl out of bed. How could I go? She chuckled softly on the other end. "Did you forget? I'm a doctor. With your strong as an ox constitution, how could you have a fever? You're 28, not a little boy like Sebastian. Stop being childish." I couldn't help but laugh in frustration. "You might not know this, but the little boy you're talking about is only 2 years younger than me." She used to call me a little boy all the time. Maybe she was just tired of me now. But it didn't matter. I had already lost all expectations of her. Chapter 5. The second time we were supposed to get divorced, I still didn't make it. Something unexpected happened on my way out. At an intersection, a 2-year-old girl in a McDull jumper rushed out on her short legs, looking for her dad. A speeding car lost control while turning the corner. Without thinking, I pushed her toward the safety zone. The impact was intense, and I felt like I was about to be shattered. The driver didn't stop for even a second. He just stepped on the gas and sped away. I turned to look, and the license plate seemed familiar. In a flash, I remembered the parking lot at the hospital. It was Liam's car. It was him. The little girl was scooped up by her frantic family, crying out, "Uncle! Uncle is hurt. I felt only pain, the kind where your organs feel as if they've been smashed, but there was no blood. System, am I going to die? I asked. The system replied, it's a bit regretful that things didn't go according to plan, but saving a little kid before you die makes you feel there's no regret. It hesitated for a moment, then added, congratulations. You won't die until the set death date. Until the day you disconnect, the symptoms from the car accident won't fully manifest. This is a benefit I fought for you. For some reason, I found the system a bit endearing. I smiled. Great. Let Gamina see what her new husband has done to me. The little girl's father and grandmother were gathered around me. Her father, with red-rimmed eyes, said, you saved our baby. You saved our whole family. They almost knelt before me. I kept insisting I was fine, but they were so eager to help. They put me in their car and drove me to the hospital. How can you be fine? The car's bumper was dented inward. How can a person be tougher than a car? They said. Helplessly, I had to inform Gamina in advance. I was in a car accident. Let's reschedule. Chapter 6. I didn't expect the hospital they brought me to would be the one where Gamina works. Let me see the test results. I heard a familiar voice above me. Gamina stormed in like a gust of wind, a thin layer of sweat on her forehead. She looked like she had just rushed back from outside. The other doctor patted her shoulder. Dr. Sue, don't worry, he's fine. No instruments can detect any issues with his body before the system's set death date. Gamina carefully reviewed every report. When she looked up again, her eyes, were there any external or internal injuries? Gamina's voice was sharper, with a hint of unfamiliarity. No visible injuries, the doctor said. What kind of car accident was this, David? Her voice held a note of disbelief. You've missed 2 appointments already. What are you playing at? I folded my hands, gathering the strength to answer. I got into a car accident. By the way, it was your new husband who hit me and fled the scene. Her frown deepened as she retorted, impossible. Sebastian is very honest. He wouldn't do something like that. I responded coolly, so you mean I'm lying? We both froze for a moment. A flicker of unease crossed her eyes as she realized something. She trusted Sebastian more than she trusted me. In my mind, I asked the system, will he get caught? The system answered firmly, yes, this world still operates under the rule of law. Oh, that puts my mind at ease, I muttered. Let the law judge her innocence. If it weren't for the system protecting my life, that kind of impact should have killed me instantly. She's just a hit-and-run criminal. I looked at my watch. Gamina, let's go now. Now, to the Civil Affairs office. Otherwise, I don't have much time left. She put her hands in her pockets, her tone indifferent. What do you mean, you don't have time? I'm dying. 3 days from now at 4 p.m. I once asked the system, is there any significance to this time? 10 years ago at 4 p.m. was when you two met. Oh, so it begins and ends the same, I thought. Gamina glanced indifferently out the window, her tone impatient. David, you should go see a psychiatrist. I couldn't help but laugh in anger. Gamina, the one with the problem is you. You want everything at once. You're pretending to be so perfect. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. Haven't you been eating well? You've lost weight. None of your business. Eat first, David. I was about to refuse when her phone vibrated. I saw the name on the screen, Sebastian. Gamina instinctively let go of my hand, and I could hear him whining on the other end, saying he had a nightmare and was scared. Gamina softly comforted him with a few words, glancing at me before saying to him, I'll be back soon. As she ended the call, a flicker of hesitation crossed her eyes. David, you should go eat. I sneered inwardly. Was it really a nightmare? Or was it guilt and fear after hitting someone? Serves him right. Gamina chose him and missed what could have been our last meal together. I wonder if she'll regret it when she thinks back on this later. Chapter 7. The Final Countdown. Lying on the cold operating table, waves of pain hit me, as though my organs were being shredded. It was unbearable. It's okay. Just bear with it. Soon I'll be able to go back and have my dad's warm clay pot porridge again. Gamina's angry voice still echoed in my ears. Julian, do you really think I have no temper? Sebastian is about to die. Can't you be more generous? I had missed my third appointment, but I had told her I had no time left. I was dying. She just didn't believe me. 10 minutes later, Jamina entered the operating room dressed in her surgical gown. Her face was expressionless. This surgery wasn't originally hers, but the system was set so that no matter who started it, she would finish it. System, what's my terminal illness? A tumor, the system replied, sounding strangely gleeful. Gamina's assistant couldn't help but ask softly, Dr. Sue, are you okay? The assistant knew my identity, and they had even admired Gamina privately. Dr. Sue is really strong. Anyone who can operate on their own husband is ruthless, they whispered. But Gamina hadn't noticed yet that the husband she had angrily scolded just an hour ago was lying under the surgical drape. She took the scalpel from her assistant's hand and skillfully made a 16 centimeters incision on my abdomen. This tumor surgery wasn't anything particularly special compared to the ones she'd performed before. Even if it failed, it would still be within the realm of possibility. After all, the surgery was extremely difficult, with a very low success rate. But thanks to her years of professional experience, the surgery was still under her control. However, accidents are something humans can never fully control. Gamina unexpectedly noticed a faint pink scar near the incision. Her hand froze midair. The assistants were a bit surprised. This had never happened before, especially not when the patient's skin was already cut open. Dr. Sue was in a daze, but I was the only one in the room who knew why. Chapter 8. The Scar. Gamina knew that scar all too well. During countless nights of passion, she had touched it, kissed it. David, this scar is yours, she said softly, but it's a mark I'll carry for life. It's the scar from the knife I took for you when you were still a resident. I had brought her food after a failed surgery, when an irrational patient wielded a fruit knife wildly. At that time, she was just a young doctor, and it had nothing to do with her. But when she was helping another innocent patient who had fallen, the knife was swung toward her abdomen. Watch out! I shouted. I pushed her away, and the knife stabbed into my abdomen instead. In the chaos, Jamina immediately covered my wound with her hand. Blood flowed from between her fingers, soaking her hands. Her face went as pale as a sheet as she struggled to support me. We staggered toward the emergency room. It wasn't until my wound was treated that the empty look in her eyes regained some light. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes, burying her face in my neck. David, seeing you bleed hurt me so much. I'd rather have died myself, I said, managing a weak smile as I patted her hand. Then will you treat me better from now on? She kissed my earlobe gently. I'd give you my life if you asked for it. That day, she lay in my arms, carefully avoiding my wound. David, you're too kind. Please think more about yourself in the future, okay? She had once told me to think about myself more, but now she was the one urging me to be generous toward Sebastian, claiming his innocence. The assistant's soft voice broke through the tension. Dr. Sue, is something wrong? Gamina ignored him and took 2 quick steps toward me, suddenly yanking the surgical drape from my face. Her pupils contracted, and her face turned pale with horror. How could it be you? I couldn't respond. Anesthesia had already taken hold, and my eyelids felt heavy. My face was cold, and beads of sweat were collecting on my forehead. It was the final stage of the disconnect procedure. It hurt, but it was almost over. Gamina's voice trembled as she spoke. David, you can't die. I won't let you die. She reached for me but hesitated, worried about causing an infection. The assistants exchanged surprised glances, but their professionalism quickly returned, and they refocused on the task at hand. The system's cold voice echoed in my mind. This is probably the most torturous surgery Jamina has ever performed. After all, the surgery had only a 5% success rate. Anyone would be nervous. When she picked up the scalpel again, her fingers trembled slightly, but she quickly suppressed the shaking with remarkable willpower. Years of professional training kicked in, and the surgery proceeded methodically. Continue administering the anesthetic, the assistant said. The tumor shows signs of spreading, with partial detachment and significant bleeding. Use embolization to block the blood vessels and continue separating adhesions to remove the diseased tissue. Jamina truly deserved her reputation as the youngest and most talented surgeon in the hospital. Everything was under her control. The assistant's voice, filled with excitement, announced, "It's a success!" They quietly cheered, but I wasn't surprised at all. The surgery had been temporarily successful because my disconnect time hadn't arrived yet. Only 2 hours left. Chapter 9. After the surgery, I was required to stay in the observation room for an hour, as per protocol. Seeing that all my vital signs were stable, Jamina's composure returned. The space was silent, just the two of us. Except for the brief conversation after the car accident, we hadn't spent more than an hour together in a long time. She leaned down, whispering in my ear, "I never thought these hands would ever perform surgery on David." The anesthetic wore off quickly, thanks to the system's settings. I opened my eyes, mocking her. I never thought these hands would ever peel shrimp for someone else. Like me, she was an orphan. I had earned my tuition bit by bit on my own. I remembered when we first graduated. We were so poor that we couldn't even afford a washing machine. The winter in the South was bone-chilling, and every time I washed clothes, my fingers turned red from the cold. But I never let her do it. I always said, "Don't bother. Your hands are meant for holding surgical tools to save more lives and families." "David, do you have a filter for doctors?" I asked. "Yes," she replied softly. "In the original world, my life was saved by a doctor." "All right, I won't let David down," she said. The room fell into an eerie silence. Jamina seemed choked by my words, and after a long pause, she sighed. "David, Sebastian is about to die. Can you not hold a grudge against him?" I chuckled bitterly. "I'm about to die too, so why shouldn't I hold a grudge?" Gamina's eyes darkened. "You won't die. Don't you trust my skills?" Perhaps realizing I was now a patient too, her voice softened. "When did you get this illness?" "The day you said you wanted a divorce and didn't believe I would disappear," I said. She was choked by my words again and had to change the subject. "I know you don't like scars, so I stitched the incision very neatly. The scar will be minimal." I didn't respond. The silence in the air made her uneasy. She seemed about to say something else, but a nurse came in. "Dr. Sue, your phone has been ringing non-stop." Gamina hesitated, then replied, "David, I need to take this call." When she returned, her expression was a bit unnatural. "David, I have an urgent matter to attend to. I'll have the nurse take care of you." I knew exactly what she was going to do. Her original plan had been to divorce me in the morning and hold a long wedding with Sebastian in the afternoon. "Dr. Sue, you really are a master of time management. You're busy enough," I said. "Gamina, I only have less than 2 hours left in this world. Are you sure you don't want to say your final goodbye?" Actually, I didn't want to spend much more time with her either. If she stayed, I would consider it her last bit of sincerity toward our years together, and I would reciprocate accordingly, letting her feel a little less guilty. But she didn't want to. Jamina stood up, and even after 3 hours of intense surgery, she remained energetic and graceful. The emotional breakdown she had when she realized I was the patient had completely vanished. "David, after you've recovered, I'll personally schedule an appointment for you with the psychiatric department," she said, her tone non-negotiable. "I don't like it at all," I sneered. "Dr. Sue, I hope you won't regret this." Gamina's expression was indifferent, as if she saw it all as just a tantrum. She glanced at me and smiled lightly. "I won't, David. What you need right now is rest." With that, she disappeared out the door, her phone buzzing in her pocket. By now, her wedding venue was likely packed with guests. Sebastian probably couldn't wait any longer. I felt a strange sense of peace. "Gamina, this is your choice." Chapter 10. After Jamina left, the system sighed in my mind. She missed her last chance. I was surprised to hear a hint of regret in the system's voice. "Host, you're a kind person," the system said. "I secretly fought for a chance for you to live well in this world. If she had chosen you today, the surgery's success would have been a reality." I smiled faintly. "System, did you forget? Even if she stayed, I couldn't have lived. Sebastian already killed me when he hit me with his car." The system was silent for a moment. "Yes, I know." Do you want to know why Sebastian was speeding that day? The system asked, a hint of intrigue in its tone. Because he was rushing to the airport to pick up Gamina. That's right, it was the day Gamina came back from her business trip. He was hurrying to pick her up because she needed to rush to divorce you. The system's voice became quieter. The cause and effect of fate. I sighed softly. Even if I hadn't been in the car accident and the surgery had been successful, I wouldn't want her anymore. You don't love her anymore? The system asked, having witnessed our 10 years together. Yeah. Why? The system prodded. How could you not know? I smiled bitterly. You're the system. You should know. Well, a system isn't omnipotent, it replied. Sometimes there are oversights, I continued. Sebastian's house doesn't have a dog. Gamina told me this a long time ago. Both her teacher and her junior are allergic to animal hair. How could someone allergic to animal hair have a dog at home? The system was stunned. So that night they weren't bathing a dog. That line on the phone. The clothes are off. Come quickly, explained everything. Gamina had emotionally and physically drifted away and calmly deceived me. System, she's tainted. I can't take her back. The system swore unexpectedly. What a scumbag. Let her drown in her guilt. Chapter 11. Not good. The patient is hemorrhaging massively. Tissue infection. Dr. Su, surgery has led to severe complications. The heart has stopped. Initiate artificial heart-lung support. Prepare ECMO. I had already completed the disconnect. My soul floated above, watching my life slowly fade away. Why can't we reach Dr. Su? We got through once, but it was hung up. Do you know who hung up? I asked the system. Oh, this is interesting. It was Sebastian, the system responded, sounding like it was enjoying the show. Come on, host. This system will take you to the wedding. The system was getting more and more endearing. Before leaving, I took one last look at myself on the operating table. The injuries from the car accident had fully manifested. Was it really this severe? My entire body was shattered, with my arm and left leg twisted in odd ways. They must be broken. How pitiful. At least I managed to push that little girl out of the way. She was so cute, so adorable. Thank goodness she's okay. Chapter 12. Turns out, watching someone else's wedding is quite interesting. Flowers piled up like mountains, colorful balloons floating around. It looked like happiness, but it was stolen happiness. System, the red wine on the long table looks pretty good. Host, you seem a bit happy. Do I need to remind you that this is your wife's wedding? I wrinkled my nose. I'm about to go home. Of course I'm happy. As for Gamina, she can't affect my mood anymore. When I first realized she was drifting away, I felt depressed and resentful. I even doubted myself. I had sleepless nights, replaying images of her holding his hand, laughing as they kissed, even embracing each other in bed. The world I had once protected collapsed. Later, I realized how foolish it was to punish myself for a woman who had changed her heart. What I needed to do was work hard to find opportunities to live in the sunlight. Host, look, there's the scumbag. Gamina appeared on the lawn in a white wedding dress. Gentle, beautiful, elegant, and poised. The groom, well, he was handsome too, with a graceful demeanor. At least there was no sign of the panic of a man who had killed someone 3 days ago. I slowly floated next to Gamina and heard her softly ask, Sebastian, where's my phone? Sebastian's eyes flickered slightly. In the dressing room, I kept it for you. The finely tailored wedding dress certainly couldn't fit a phone. Did I get any calls? I think there was one. Sebastian hesitated. Should I get it? But the wedding is about to start. Gamina paused. No need, she replied calmly, looking ahead. I wondered if she remembered our wedding. We were so poor, we could only afford silver rings, yet we were so happy. David, do you regret marrying a poor girl like me? She had asked. No, I had answered. Dr. Su was a rising star indeed. Later, I gave her a big diamond ring, but she never seemed as happy as she was before. David, my junior is sick and dying. Can I fulfill one of his wishes? He's only 26. So pitiful. Sammy, you should go. His wish is to marry me. I froze. Gamina, that's an unreasonable wish. But he's dying, she insisted. Dying doesn't mean he can steal someone else's wife, someone else's love. Sammy, this wish is immoral. That day, she stood on the balcony. For a long time, she finally spoke in a voice as cold as ice. David, you've changed. You're not as kind as you used to be. And then, without another word, she left me in the silence of the room. Gamina, did you forget? My biggest fear is being alone. I sat in the empty living room, turning on every light, but it still felt like something was missing. I buried my face in my arms, curling into a tight ball. It wasn't me who changed, Gamina. It was you. When she was with Sebastian, I called her, pretending, my stomach hurts. She was with him, at the top of the Ferris wheel. They say that kissing up there symbolizes love and eternity. But it wasn't a stomachache. I was simply standing at the bottom of the Ferris wheel, watching them sit so close to each other. My heart broke in that moment. Gamina knew my body better than anyone. On the phone, her voice was cold. David, I'm a surgeon, not a gastroenterologist. At that moment, I felt like I was dying. When someone can't tolerate your occasional childishness, it's clear they don't love you anymore. Love is either there or it's not. Chapter 13. System, is it almost time for the ring exchange? That diamond ring is dazzling. It must have cost a fortune. The system seemed almost amused by my words. Host, shouldn't you be more concerned about when the police will arrive? What's the rush? Let them enjoy their little moment of happiness. It will hurt more when the truth finally comes out. Sebastian smiled at Gamina. Senior, I've admired you for so long. Today, this wish is finally coming true. Gamina's expression faltered slightly. Her gaze dropped, as if lost in thought, perhaps remembering our wedding day. She had said the same thing to me. David, marrying you. This wish has finally come true. The irony was unbearable. Today, she left me in the hospital to fulfill someone else's wish. She probably just removed our wedding ring not long ago. I could still see the faint mark on her ring finger, but I had none. The ring I once cherished so much was discarded the day she agreed to marry Sebastian, never to be reclaimed. At that moment, Gamina's delicate fingers took the diamond ring to put it on Sebastian. Suddenly, several uniformed police officers burst through the flower arch. The system's voice rang with excitement. Oh, the show's about to start. Do you need some sunflower seeds? Host, don't forget I'm on duty right now. I couldn't help but smile at the system's playful tone. Sebastian, you've been reported for hit and run. Sebastian's lips quivered uncontrollably, gripping Gamina's hand as though his life depended on it. I didn't. The police, used to people denying the truth, continued. Surveillance footage shows that on the 11th of this month, at 2:10 p.m., you were driving a car with the license plate LY99. You struck a person on Wangai Road and fled the scene due to speeding. The victim was a young man. I saw Gamina's fingers tremble as realization dawned on her. She was smart enough to understand that the person Sebastian was supposed to pick up that day was her. Her face turned grim as she yanked her arm back and stepped away from him. She glared at Sebastian, fierce and unforgiving. You switched cars to pick me up that day because you hit someone with the original car? Sebastian trembled all over, unable to meet her eyes. Gamina's fury boiled over, and she grabbed his collar violently. Did you hit David? Sebastian stammered. Senior, let go. I don't know, it's impossible. There were no cameras. The police calmly informed him. The cameras were installed the day before. Sebastian staggered back. One more thing to inform you of. You're under suspicion of purchasing forged medical records. You will need to cooperate with the investigation. Sebastian's face turned ashen. He lost all fight and collapsed, completely drained, as he was taken away by the police. His fate was sealed by the law. The crowd of guests began murmuring in outrage. What a disgrace, getting arrested on your wedding day. He seemed so honest and simple, but he hit someone and ran, cold-hearted. He wasn't even sick, bought fake medical records to pretend to be terminally ill and trick us into pitying him. That's despicable. Isn't the bride supposed to be a top-notch doctor? How could she not notice? Gamina couldn't avoid hearing this. It felt like a slap across her face. Host, Did Gamina really not notice? The system asked. I smiled wryly. Maybe she just didn't want to notice. She wanted to be the dragon-slaying hero who saved the prince, but she didn't realize that she was the dragon. The system huffed in indignation. Ugh, what a new breed of scumbag woman. Chapter 14. Gamina grabbed her phone from the dressing room, but it was dead, the screen pitch black. Frantic, she turned around and dashed toward the parking lot. In her haste, she tripped and fell, but quickly got up and floored the gas pedal, speeding toward the hospital. She seems to have run several red lights. Well, then she can look forward to having her license revoked, the system commented lightly. Gamina bit her lip, still in her wedding dress, as she rushed toward the hospital. Where's David? Where's Julian? The nurses, startled by her frantic appearance, stammered, Dr. Sue, there's no David here. How can there be no one? Are you sure you did your job properly? Her assistant stopped her, mumbling, Sister Sue, there really is no David here. Gamina, usually so calm and composed, was now completely losing her grip. That's impossible, she cried. Where did he go then? Gamina staggered slightly. David is in the morgue? She grabbed the assistant by the collar, her voice laced with disbelief. That's not possible. He was fine just a while ago. The surgery was successful. What nonsense are you talking about? Chapter 15. On the way to the morgue, with every word the assistant spoke, Gamina's face grew paler. His internal organs, they looked like they were shattered by a strong impact. It seems like he was in a severe car accident. She was muttering to herself. Impossible. The surgery was clearly a success. The assistant had no choice but to tell her the truth. Sister Sue, the sutures you did, they all split open. The intestines, they spilled out. Gamina's legs felt as if they were made of lead, each step more difficult than the last. The news about the tumor spreading, invading the surrounding tissues, struck her like a heavy hammer to the chest. These words meant only one thing. The surgery had failed. The miracle hands had failed. She had performed countless surgeries, but the one on her own husband's tumor had failed. It was a devastating blow to her confidence. No matter how calm Gamina appeared, she couldn't hide the cold sweat that beaded on her forehead. When did he pass? She whispered, her voice barely a murmur. An hour after you left the hospital. What was she doing then? The assistant asked. Attending a wedding, he replied. Her wedding with Sebastian, amidst the flowers and balloons, celebrating joyfully. Her husband was entering the final phase of his life. Chapter 16. Gamina hesitated several times before daring to lift the white sheet off of me. Her hands were trembling, as if she were afraid to face what was underneath. Just lift it already, I whispered. Lifting it will complete the system process. Then I can go home and have my dad's porridge. Finally, Gamina closed her eyes and pulled the sheet off in one motion. I saw my own corpse, cold, lifeless. The face was still recognizable, but the body shattered beyond recognition. The system sighed beside me. At first, Gamina calmly looked at your body. Then she gently stroked your face, as if with tenderness. Finally, she lifted my hand to her lips. David, get up. Come on, let's go home. We won't divorce anymore. We'll never divorce, okay? The room was silent. No one answered her. The assistant stood helplessly, not knowing what to do. Gamina clung to my body, refusing to let go. Her state became more frantic by the second. Julian, you damn well answer me, she cried. Get up. Let's go home, please, David. I'm really begging you. Her tears dripped onto my neck. I don't like this, I said quietly. System, won't this make my body dirty? It's almost over. Just hang in there, the system replied, its tone more reassuring. How much longer? By midnight, you'll be back in the original world, just a few more hours. The body couldn't be taken home. Gamina was persuaded by the hospital leadership to leave. It wouldn't look good for a top surgeon to be sitting in the morgue, losing her mind. You still need to handle his funeral arrangements, right? They said. Gamina kissed my forehead several times, each kiss filled with sorrow. I frowned as I watched, and even the system couldn't help but mutter, Crazy woman. After repeated urging from her colleagues, Gamina finally walked out of the morgue. Her voice was almost a whisper when she asked her assistant, "Did David say anything before he left?" The assistant answered softly, "He did." Jamina's eyes lit up for a moment. He said, "Congratulations on your wedding. I hope we never meet again." The assistant hesitated. "Sister Sue, what's wrong?" Gamina collapsed heavily to the ground, her knees hitting the floor with a loud thud. She seemed to forget the pain and quickly got back up, limping, and walked out muttering, "I want to go home. David said his stomach hurts." Chapter 17. Jamina used the key to open what was once our home. The house was pitch black inside, with only the city lights outside illuminating the darkness. She seemed unsure of where the light switch in the living room was, because whenever she came home, the lights were always on. I would always be waiting for her on the couch. "David?" she called out, her voice echoing through the empty house. Of course, there was no response. Suddenly, there was a clattering sound from the room. Jamina rushed to the bedroom. A few seconds later, it was as if all the strength had drained from her. There was no one in the bedroom. Of course, it was just the sound of a picture frame falling to the floor. Under the harsh fluorescent light, she stood there, dazed for a moment. The whole house felt empty, like a model home that had never been lived in. The system commented, "Host, you did a great job. I won't leave her any chance to reminisce." That's right. I threw out or donated everything that was mine. The photos in the frames only showed her half of the image. Even the wedding photo was split in half, her half lying torn on the floor. Finally, Gamina slid down the wall, utterly drained. She held her head in her hands, just as I had when I first discovered her betrayal, curled up in one spot, unable to believe it but unwilling to accept it. 10 years, not 10 days. At first she cried softly, then it turned into loud, gut-wrenching sobs. "David, I was wrong, I was really wrong. Please come back, okay? I'm begging you, please come back." She probably forgot that she once said, "Is it reasonable for a strong woman like me to cry?" But now she was anything but reasonable. A white light flashed. "Host, goodbye." The system's voice softened. I knew it was time to go home. "Host, will you forget me?" "Never," I whispered. "System, you're too adorable. System, thank you for accompanying me on this unique journey. Goodbye, goodbye, I'm going home." Extra. Chapter 1. Jamina hadn't been in the operating room for a long time. She developed a stress reaction as soon as she stepped inside. The sterile scent, the bright lights, the buzzing of machines, everything reminded her of what she had lost. If she saw David lying there, her first instinct was to run away. "Dr. Sue, are you really going to perform this surgery today?" her assistant asked, his voice tinged with concern. "Yes," Gamina replied, her tone steady but edged with exhaustion. "How could I be a doctor if I don't perform surgeries?" Her lips curled into a bitter smile as she put on her surgical gown. "Administer the anesthesia and make the incision, 15 centimeters. Everything started off smoothly, but soon blood began pouring from the patient. Gamina's breathing became more labored, her vision blurring. Cold sweat dripped down her temples as her mind raced back to David. David, lying on the operating table. David in the morgue. So much blood. The blood during surgery, the blood from years ago when David had taken a knife for her. "Sammy, will you be kinder to me from now on?" "Of course. I'd give you my life." The image shifted. David pleading with her, filled with helplessness. "Sammy, after the divorce, I'll disappear." "Alexander, stop using disappearing to force me, okay? Alexander, you should see a psychiatrist. Alexander, go see a psychiatrist, I'll arrange it." Gamina, the one who was sick, yes, she was really sick. They had worked so hard to build a home together, a warm, cozy home, a place where a small light always waited for her return, a refuge for a lonely heart. How could she not cherish it? But maybe the comfort had become too routine, too predictable. The pressure of surgeries every day, the weight of her reputation, it all built up. She needed an escape. Sebastian appeared at just the right moment. He admired her, clung to her, and she couldn't shake him off. He was so different from David, a fresh, vibrant presence. There were times, sitting alone in her car, she thought, Just indulge once. Indulge once, and then I'll return to David. How could she not notice Sebastian's health condition? He handed her the report, and she just accepted it without question. Ignorance is bliss. She sought the divorce from David. Only through that could she rid herself of the guilt that weighed so heavily on her. She couldn't stand that in David's eyes. She had become synonymous with infidelity. Her actions were like robbing Peter to pay Paul, each step more precarious than the last. In the end, she fell into an abyss, shattered beyond repair. That home, the home with David, she could never return to it. Chapter 2. When Jemina was finally released from prison, it was the worship season. The church was quiet, peaceful. I'll take that bouquet. My husband liked lilies. David's grave was impeccably maintained. It seemed someone visited often. The bright smile in the photo on the tombstone tugged at her heart, but it also filled her with grief. David had been so young, but in the 3 years since his death, Jemina had aged as if 30 years had passed. She looked old, weary. Just as she reached for the photo, a small voice came from behind her. "Don't touch! Don't touch! You're not allowed to pay respects to my godfather." It was the little girl David had once said he saved. "Go away! Go away! You married another man and caused my godfather's death. You're not welcome here!" Gemina's lips trembled as she gave a bitter smile. She hadn't expected David to be so ruthless, not even allowing her to handle his funeral. Everything had been entrusted to the little girl's family. Jemina walked out of the cemetery in a daze. She looked up at the gray sky, feeling as if the heavens were about to cry. Then, with a sudden roar, a torrential downpour began, and it felt like she had been pulled back to that summer again. She was a graduate student, David an undergraduate senior. "Don't get wet, I have an umbrella." David had entered her lonely world so gently. By the time they reached the dormitory building, his shoulder was soaking wet, but she was still dry. She felt guilty. He had always cared for her. He smiled, his eyes bright. "It's okay, senior. I'm strong and healthy." He was so kind. How could she have the heart to scold him? To tell him to be more generous? The guilt wrapped around her like thick vines, growing with every passing year. With a thud, Jemina collapsed in the rain. Bright red blood mingled with the rainwater, spreading across the pavement. The knife David had blocked years ago had returned to her. This time, no one was there to protect her. She recognized the person who stabbed her. It was the family member of the patient from her last failed surgery. She deserved it. She had run out of the operating room halfway through, causing the death of someone's loved one. Those who betray true love never meet a good end. "David, will you come to take me away?" Only the sound of the rain answered her. Chapter 3. After she died, she met the system. She begged for a long time, and finally the system agreed to let her see David. "This is because you were once a doctor and saved many patients," the system explained. In the peaceful evening, David was dozing in a wicker chair at the door. His dad called from inside. The house was quiet, and the familiar voice echoed through Jemina's mind. "David, what's for dinner?" "Clay pot porridge. Salt and pepper baby potatoes. Got to have those potatoes. Got it? Your favorite." The guilt in Jemina's heart grew again, the same heavy feeling that she had carried for so long. She didn't like eating potatoes, but it turned out that David had always accommodated her for 10 years, cooking, waiting, adapting to her likes and dislikes. She could never touch him in return. She could only watch as he happily got up from the wicker chair and ran outside, his movements full of joy. "Hey, kid, stealing my lemons again? They'll make you sour, brother," David called out with a laugh. "I'll make lemon tea for you. Want some?" "Sure," Jemina replied, her heart aching. But then she noticed something. David only had one healthy leg. The other was fitted with a prosthetic. "Brother, you only have one leg. How do you run so fast?" "Because I'm an alien with a bionic leg," he joked, smiling brightly. He was so optimistic, just like the David she once knew. No wonder he loved running so much, loved sports. It was because of his physical imperfections, but he still managed to stay so positive, so full of life. Surrounded by love, loved by so many, and loving so many in return, his dad, his friends, the little girl he saved, even the cold system. He loved them all, but he didn't love her. He would never take her back. Gamina suddenly realized, with overwhelming sadness, that even in death, she was utterly alone. The love she had been searching for, the love she had once taken for granted, was now out of her reach. In the distance, the news from her world broadcasted the tragic story. Former Golden surgeon Dr. Sue was found dead outside her late husband's cemetery with no one to claim her body.